Hi guys! I know everybody's excited because I sure am. And I tell you, I'm just a little bit nervous because this is something I've never done before. But the lucky thing is, I have some children that are really good at this. And they got us all set up and fixed up for this. And I just want to throw out a huge thank you to my son, Jack, and my daughter-in-law, Patricia, for getting this, for accomplishing this, because without their expertise and know-how, this would not have happened. Or maybe it might have happened, but it wouldn't have been very good. So anyway, this is exciting, and I know this is going to give us an opportunity to kind of pretend like we're at convention and give us a little more fun. I want you to be sure and know that you can participate in the chat. You can send me questions if you get stuck on something you want to ask. You can send that, and Jack, my son, is kind of following the chat, so he can let us know. And so don't be shy about that. Also, I want to throw out a huge, gigantic, big thank you to Jim, who is, of course, our big hero. I know that, it's been a huge undertaking for him throughout the years to produce and do this convention and give us the opportunity to all play dolls together. And he certainly has given me a huge opportunity to be able to do these workshops for you guys every year. It's kind of like part of my life. As soon as convention's over and as soon as I know the new theme, I usually start working on trying to figure out what can we do. And so that's just a real creative process for me to figure it out. So whenever we finally had the go-ahead, not the go-ahead, but the axe laid so that we know we weren't going to have convention anymore, I just started thinking, oh wow, I've been working on these workshops for 2 years and they're pretty much done. What can we do with that? So I was really surprised when I threw it out there just on a whim to see if anybody was interested in doing it, and like in this format. And of course you guys were great. Y'all, a resounding yes. So I'm excited. I hope I can live up to the expectations that I've kind of thrown out that this is going to be. But like I said, if you've got questions, don't hesitate to ask. Another thing I just thought it might be interesting to do is sort of, in the words of my son, fixed me up with this word, a retrospective of things that we've done in the past. Because I've been fortunate enough to have been to every single IFDC from the very, very beginning. And I started doing workshops the second year. So for a while I did one workshop every year, and then at one point Jim said, I'm done with all these other people, we're just going to have to rail do it. So I started doing 2 a year. So I have done, I'm going to look at my notes here, I have done 28 workshops, all different, it's kind of going along with the themes. And so I was kind of, that's, 12 years of 2 a year. So, and part of convention, part of the magic of convention for me was being able to do the workshops. It was just one of those things that made it a little more fun for me and made it really creative, because I'm not so much a doll collector as a doll maker. That's a little dog. We're at home. So anyway, I want to kind of just kind of go over a lot of these. I don't actually have a representation or even a picture of, but we have a few pictures. But I'll start with the very first year that I did a workshop, and that was was kind of a joke actually, was Roman armor. And probably, I don't know if anybody in this group probably even remembers that, but I had no idea what I was doing. It was pretty complicated, but we muddled through it, and we did it. I think I just wanted to introduce people to the medium of paper clay, and that's how we did it. Then let me get my right list here. And then we did some Kelly mermaids. And I had one year we did Asian accents, where we made little Asian hats and little Asian purses. And then the next year we did a pirate thing, which was all pirate hats and pirate, I think we did swords. I don't know what all we did, but some little things like that. And then the first year that I did two workshops was the Egyptian workshop. And I brought along one of my dolls for that, because I don't have any pictures of that. But we made, I don't know if you can see, we made these necklaces. And I think we also did, that was for one workshop. And then the second workshop, we did a headdress that was all beads. So it was kind of fiddly, but people we sorted through it, and it was fun. We had a good time. So that was in, let's see, 2009. Okay, then the next year I did some cardboard purses, and we also did a steampunk. I did two steampunks, but the first steampunk I did, we made like little vest, and we made little, I don't know what all we did. Oh, we made helmets and goggles. Okay, and then the next year in 2010, we did the Enid Collins purses, and I think that, do you have that, Patricia?
This one? Or that
yes, that one, the purses. So there's the purses, and that is actually what we're going to do on the next broadcast that we do, are the purses. So this is kind of a throwback and something we're going to go back and do that we've done in the past. And that same year, we did the beginning of, this is 2011, we did a luggage workshop, and I think Patricia's got a picture of that. There's our luggage. And I divided that into two different groups. We did two different workshops. I think we did hat boxes and something in one, and then we did the train case and the Pullman in the other. And that is my number one most requested ever. Everybody always says, oh, do luggage. And so I've kind of had to tweak that throughout the years, and you'll see. Okay, and then the next year we had a whole goth theme, and so we did the little, and this is the next, we made little handbags that were made look like coffins, and we also had little hats. I don't have a picture of the hat, but I have the hat. Here's the little hats we did. So we did the little hats, and we also did a little zombie rag doll. I think Patricia's got a picture of that too. Which some people liked it, some people loved it, some people didn't like it. But anyway, you got to appeal to everybody. Okay, and then we did one year, I kind of took a little bit of a break, and we did spell books and scrolls. And then the next year, we made these little pirate ship hats. I think Terry requested this specifically, because I had a hat like this that I wore myself. So we did that. I don't know if did I get it in the picture? Okay. Alrighty. Okay. And we also did Ugg boots that year. Bear with me, we're almost through it. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting for some people that haven't been here throughout the years to see and do everything that we've done. Okay, then we did some furniture. We made a boudoir chair. And there it is. We did the chair. And that same year we did little screens, little folding screens. So this is a couple of those. That's the picture of that. And then we did, this was a biggie, and this was one of those heavily prepared propped ones. That was my steampunk wings. There they are. I don't know if you remember this. Oh, wow. I think I worked forever getting these kits put together so that everybody could easily do them. And then the next year in 2017 we did dress forms, and everybody again loved the idea of the furniture and the chairs, so they requested another chair. So I tweaked it, and we decided we would do these little Victorian settees. So that was done the same year. And then, oh, my favorite, in 2018 we did tiki bars. Here's the tiki bar. There's the tiki bar. And I don't have one of these, and darn it, I wish I had kept mine, but I think somebody kept hounding me to buy it, so I sold it. And there it is. And I've actually been kind of working on doing a video of this, of making it, but it's a long, hard process. And that same year we did the retro record player. That was fun.
Well, Barbara Brock says she remembers the screen and she still has it, and the wings were awesome.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Barbara. Yeah, you guys are great. It's the same, most of you have done a lot of these, and that's really been awesome. Okay, then the last year that we did our convention was 2019, and we did the steamer trunk. Again, this was heavily prepared for you, and I spent ages putting all these pieces together. But everybody walked out with it finished, and they looked really awesome. And we also did the waterfall dresser. And I think there it is. That was another heavily prepared for. I think I'm about to have a little kitty cat visitor. Come here, you want to say hi? Say hi. This is the new kitty in the Moore household. Okay. So anyway, that kind of rounds us up to today. And I was going off of the 60s vibe, with the theme that we had was a 60s vibe. So that's mainly why we're doing the Enid Collins purse again, because we're doing a 60s vibe. But I thought, oh, how fun it would be to just do maybe some tiki stuff. Go back to the tiki. So here's the lamp that we're going to be doing today. This is the tiki lamp. And I did a lot of prep work on this, so it's really going to be easy for you guys to do, really easy and fast. So I thought, well, I need to do more than one because this is going to be a fast workshop. So then I did this little, more of a Florida 50s little lamp. So in your kit, so we'll get down to that. We'll go ahead and start working on that. So in your kit, you should have a piece of, you want to go to the thing, yeah. You should have 2 pieces of scrapbook paper. And this was just scrapbook paper. And what I did to kind of give it kind of a sheen and give it some substantiality, I used Mod Podge. And I painted it with Mod Podge. And it has about 3 coats of Mod Podge on it. So that made it a little stiffer and gave it some body. So each one of these. And I think they're a full length of paper, when you buy scrapbook paper. And then they're 1.5 inches wide, which you can measure them if you have them, but if you don't have the kit, then that's how big they are. And I know somebody would be interested to know, both of these scrapbook papers came from Hobby Lobby. So that's that. Also in your kit, you should have, I'll open my little extra kit. You're going to have a base, and I'm going to show you how to do this base, even though I did it for you. And I did it for you because if we were in a classroom setting, you would need to know. I guess I'll hold this down here like that. I'll kind of get used to the setup. If we were in a classroom setting, we wouldn't have had time to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it. And this, you're also going to have a little flamingo. You're going to have a couple of skewers. These are just the kind of skewers you use when you're cooking out on your grill.
A quick question for you.
Okay.
Brent Adam asked, if my paper for the shade is folded from shipping, can I iron it, or how do I get it flattened?
I would just sort of, you could iron it if you lay it upside down and put a cloth over the top of it. Yeah, and also while we're waiting, if you want to kind of curl yours up a little bit to sort of train it to go in a circle, you can be doing that too, so that it has a little bit of a curve. You should have, here's 2. You should have 2 beads, and these beads are actually the finials that are going to go on top. Then you're going to have, I had to drink a whole lot of mocha frappuccinos to get enough for all of you to have these. No, I'm really kidding. These are solo cups. That's where I got all of these. And the way what I did was, here's a mocha frappuccino shop. So I just used my scissors, not my red ribbon scissors. And you all know, because I've told you before, the red ribbon is what, Jack?
The touch them and you die scissors.
There you go. See, I train my kids well. Oh. So you want to make sure you've got a good pair of scissors to kind of just, and I just kind of trim them down like that. Trim them to that first. Of course, yours are going to be done, but if you want to, repeat this cycle, I'll get down here so that you can see what I'm doing.
I will note that we have a massive thunderstorm coming in, and so if we lose power, we will do our best to get back online. But it is a possibility because it's pretty nasty outside.
Yeah, and this is something we didn't expect until just a few minutes ago. Okay, so that's what you cut them with. Some good scissors that are not touch them in your die scissors. So that's these, and then the special of all is the, I've got this one still wrapped up. I wrapped these up so that they wouldn't get broken when in the shipping. But okay, and that is the tikis. Now there are 3 different designs in tikis. So if the design that you have is not the same as this one, there are actually 3. And we'll talk a little more about that later, okay? So anyway, that is everything that we have that you should have in your kit. I'm throwing beads are flying around here. Okay. So the first thing I want to do, I want to tell you about how I made this little base. This base is made out of cordboard. Just dollar store cordboard that comes from the dollar store. And there's actually 4 layers. And I used, and also I'm going to kind of throw tips and stuff at you too, kind of tips and tricks and tools. I don't know, this is the X-Acto knife that I always use. I like this kind of X-Acto knife rather than the kind that are just like a pencil shape because they're really easy to grip. And you actually have 2 cutting surfaces, so when this one gets dull, you can just flip it around and go to the other one. So anyway, what I've done with these is and if you need this pattern, you probably want to make your own pattern, something different than what you have. But if you need the pattern, I can draw it up and put it in a PDF so you can have it. So right now I've got 2 sets cut out of the back. There's actually 3 layers. So the back 3 layers look like this. I keep wanting to show you up here, but it's down here. The back 3 layers look like this. And then the front layer will have, it'll have its inset a little bit at a time. So when I cut these out, okay, my favorite glue, tacky glue. So what I usually do is I kind of start to glue it together. Get this thing, I started a little bit here. And we didn't talk about this to start with because I gave you all messages on the board of kind of the tools that you should have with you today if you're going to make along with me. So I just kind of line them up, the bottom and the sides. And then because this is such a weird little detail on this guy, once it's set, then I cut it. So that way I know that it is exactly matched up to the one in front of it. Because if you cut them all out at once, they will never match. I think I did it. Kind of took a gouge out of that one.
So while you're cutting, Lisa Alford wants to know if you have a plastic cup as an example prior to it being cut so they could see exactly what they need or what kind of plastic cup would they need.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I joked about a mocha frappuccino from Starbucks, but that is a good cup if you're only doing one. I bought solo cups to do these with, but it's actually the bottom of a solo cup. So imagine that the cup is here. It's out here. So I trimmed it down so you actually ended up with the very bottom of the cup. So yeah, mocha frappuccino or some sort of clear cup. So that is that. So then this, I'm going to finish cutting this just so you know. And when I was making these, I also, you want to make sure that you seal everything, all the edges before you paint it. And of course, I love Mod Podge. That Mod Podge is my go-to for everything. So there's the Mod Podge that I buy a bigger container than this, but I brought this along so you can see. And that's exactly what I covered these with too, was Mod Podge. So it's a great sealant. It's really just watered down glue, but it's a little better than watered down glue. So again, if you can kind of easily match the shape. I think we have a little dog crisis going on in the background. And you can even sand this just a little bit. And then, and you notice I've got, oh, here's a good solo cup somebody found. So there's the cup. So you just actually use this very bottom part and cut it, because all you're really going to need is this part of it. And you'll see in a minute how we use that, but that's what I use for those. I don't know what's going on.
You're freaking out because of the storm.
Oh, the animals are freaking out. We've got a storm coming in. So
You've
anyway,
angered the tiki gods.
I've angered the tiki gods. Oh no. Okay, so I was using a metal ruler, and I brought my cutting mat up here so that we could, I've got portable ones and I have big ones. So if you don't have a cutting mat, get one. You don't have to worry about cutting and messing up everything. So take one good wide swipe to cut these guys out. I'm just going to kind of cut them out. See, this is stuff I wouldn't have done in my class because it's easier when the class is going on, just to have things kind of pre-made for you. But imagine I did this over 40 times just for you guys. So you would have this wonderful little kit.
Lisa Alfred says, thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure, as a matter of fact. I love it. Okay, let's get this. All right, so then I'm leaving the top part intact. I'm not cutting that, because then I'm going to glue this, the next layer on. Just put plenty of glue. Also, I love this. I don't think you can get this anymore, but these little caps with the tacky glue, you can just set them and they're just upside down and they're always ready to roll for you. So if you ever see those, grab them because they are cool. So again, I just kind of match everything. Okay. Match everything up. And then I can go in and cut away what I don't want, and everything is still in line with each other. So I'm not going to do much more of this, but to show you, just to give you an idea of how you can do this and keep all your cutting lines in good tact. So you see how that's it's pretty nice. Then once I would finish this, I would seal all the foam core portions of it. And also on the last layer, for this to to do really well, to take paint really well, I remove, and I don't know if you've ever done this or not, but I would remove the paper on it. And it just comes right off. This is just the really inexpensive dollar store foam core, and the paper comes right off of it. And the reason I would do that is because when you're doing a lot with foam core, if you paint it, it will actually warp. And the reason it warps is because of the paper. It's not because of the foam core. So if you remove the paper, it is less likely to warp. So when I would attach my final coats, I would remove the paper before I painted it. Okay, so that's basically how I came up with this little Art Deco looking lamp base. And somebody's probably going to ask, this is the paint. So if you make a mistake and you need to touch up your paint, your flamingo, it is Craft Smart, and it is the color Aquamarine, and it's the metallic paint. I love the metallic paints. They're just so cool. If you haven't used them, I use them a lot because they're just really fun and good. So anyway, that is basically how I created this. So if you ever want to work with foam core, again, I would recommend sealing it really well before you paint it, and removing the paper so it doesn't warp. Okay, so that is that, basically how we're done. So now what I want to do is I want to talk about how we do the lampshade. Now on the lampshades that I've got to show you, I actually, because if you remember the lamps of the 50s, they had like this leather stitching that attached the shade, or the face of the shade, to a wire. So I thought it'd be neat to replicate that. So I did the stitching along this lines, but that's really hard. That takes a long time, and I think it would be just as easy if you go with and I brought my fine tip marker, so you could do it easily and have the same look. You don't have to have them as authentic looking as this is. But I do want to show you a little trick if you think you have to do that, and that is, I'm not going to burn the house down, I promise. This is a trick I use all the time. I always keep a little tea light next to me and some,
The fan
the fan is going to, yeah, that's going to blow it out. I've got one more match, we'll try it.
We've got a lighter downstairs.
That's okay, it's not the big deal. If we can do it, we'll do it. If not, I'll just let it get going. So I always keep a tea light next to me and some matches, because if I ever want to melt something like plastic, I don't recommend it for everybody, but I'm going to kind of keep that sheltered for a minute. Also, if you don't have a pair of forceps are the most handy dandy tool, and I'm guessing you could buy them. I don't think they're a medical tool, but I'm guessing you could buy them. But I use them again for a lot of different things. There goes my light.
He's gonna go get you.
Oh, he's gonna get me a lighter.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, essentially what I would do is I would hold with my forceps, because that way I don't get hot, and hold it over the flame, and then once you have it on, or you don't even have to have it on, you just can start punching holes through because it's pretty hard to punch. Oh, there we go. There we are. So once it gets hot, we'll see if it'll get hot enough. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It just goes through like butter. Goes through. So, and don't come out, but I did a lot of stitches. I don't think you would need, if you want to do this, I don't think you need as many stitches as I did on these things, so, because that's quite a bit. But I will tell you also, on these tops, I'm going to see if I can guard my flame, you'll see that there's a hole in the top. This is pretty tough stuff to get a hole through, and you could drill it, but it's easier just to, and I made like a little, I made myself, again, this is just a little tip if you're doing something that's round. I made a circle the size of the cup, and then I folded it 4 times to find the center, and then that told me exactly where the center of this is. So then when when I'm doing these, I'm making like 30 or 40 at a time. So I would just hold this little jig or whatever you want to call it, a pattern, and then I'd heat up my needle, which was a bigger needle than this, and then just punch it through. So that way I was consistently getting everything right dead in the center of every single one of these that I did. I don't think we need that anymore. But anyway, that's just more of a tip of things that you can do when you're working with this kind of thing. I did end up kind of enlarging these a little bit, but with a hand tool. But anyway, so if you want to get a center, find the center of something, a real easy trick is to do this. And that's how I got the hole in the middle. Okay, so I think we are at a point where we're ready. I'm ready to talk to you about the shades. Yeah. and I posted this on the group so that you kind of know. These have been, I've been finding these at the dollar store. They're really cool. And for $1, I think you get about a dozen of them. So I've got those, and of course, you know, if you've ever had a class with me, you know that I love my little baby clips. Whenever you're doing mini projects, these small clips help hold things in place. So what I pull these out for is to show you that for the we'll just call this the Miami Vice lamp. So you want to make sure that when you start to attach this, that it's cupped upside down. So you've got, so it's going to go like this, not like this. Because you want it to have this little, you want to have a little indenture. And you want this to go along the top edge.
Bring your a little bit forward so you can.
Am I?
There
Okay.
you go, right there.
There we go. So again, you want to be on the top edge. So what I would do, and also I brought my Fabric Tack glue along. I love Fabric Tack, and I know you guys know that I'm the glue queen with my tacky glue, but at home I use Fabric Tack a whole lot. It's just too expensive and too goopy to bring to classes, because you know I usually have those little things for you guys to use. But here's a great tip about Fabric Tack. It is actually an acetone based product, and throughout the years I used it less and less, because the older it gets the goopier it is, and it's really hard to use. But if you would just put a cap full of acetone, you know, fingernail polish remover in it, it is like thin. It's thin enough that it just kind of runs. I don't know if you can see the inside of my bottle, but it makes it quite runny. So this is what I'm going to use instead, but you can use this too. But the Fabric Tack glues and sticks a whole lot faster. So I would just run a bead along the edge of the Fabric Tack or glue. And you can use hot glue for this too. You just have to be really careful that you don't melt it. But the nice thing about Fabric Tack is it grabs a hold of it and it dries really fast. So just kind of give yourself a big glop of that. And also there's a right side up and an upside down. So you want to make sure your flamingo's heads are going up. So your heads should be at the same with the indenture, so that you're going down into it. I don't know if you can see that.
Maybe if you do it to the side.
To this, like this.
Angle it like that, yeah.
Like that. I like that. Anyway, so, and I would I'm going to use my little, and start with your pins, and just wrap this around so that it's right on the edge. Clips. Kind of clip it as you go so it's in place. Measure that all the way around. This is the exact same thing you're going to do on the tiki too. They're essentially made almost exactly alike. Now, when you're looking at these cups, they may not all be perfectly straight, so you want to make sure that it looks kind of straight. Because you know, you got to remember, I was doing like 40 of these. So when you get to the end, you're going to have some overlap. So go back and, oh, see, this is the thing about this glue. It does get goopy. Let me get, hang on, I got it. Now I have this. So, but you can rub it off real easy. So I've got it. It's okay. No, the water won't do anything with it. I just kind of rub it off. That's the same thing with tacky glue. I just rub it, and it leaves little crumbs for you. So anyway, then just put a little glue on the end where they overlap. Pretty much done with that, so I'm going to put the lid on it. It grows. Make sure they line up. Like that. Can you guys see that good? So in essence, and it's really funny because when I was working on this, I came up with, I was having the hardest time deciding how can I make that shape and be able to do it 40 times and not cost a fortune. So this was kind of I think it was kind of brilliant, because I started out, I was going to buy little hoops of little like bracelet hoops, and then I started I have one here somewhere. So then I thought, oh well, I guess I will just, there we go, thought I did. So I thought, well, I'll just cut styrofoam circles. Well, if you've ever cut a circle out of anything, it's never the same. So so anyway, then I came up with this. So this is pretty awesome, I think. So you can give that some time to dry. It shouldn't take too long, especially if you use fabric tack or if you use hot glue. You know, it'll be. And this you could use hot glue. And of course, we never use hot glue in the class because, you know, it's logistically impossible. You know, not everybody can have a plug outlet, and not everybody can have a place to reach a hot glue gun. Okay. So, but you can also use these big clips too. If you've got a dollar store close to you, I really recommend these guys. These are awesome. And these little clips, and you guys know that if you've taken class with me before, these used to be sold at Michael's in the baby shower party stuff. But you want to get the plastic ones, not the wooden, because the wooden they will glue and then they'll break, and then they will want to stick forever to your project. So those are those. Okay, I just need to wipe my nose a little bit. I'm running. Alrighty, so then now would be the time if you want to do the holes with the candle, because then you can go through the paper and then the cup. But you know, if you've got a marker, it's not really that big a deal. I think I kind of took this to extreme, so I would just draw them on. But you want to use a fine tip marker and something that is permanent marker. So there's that. Having a dog catastrophe again. Okay, and now I wanted to tell you just a little bit about your little flamingos. Again, it's like, okay, I wanted something really cute to go on. I want to have kind of Miami Vice, but how do I come up with 40 of these darn things? So I found one of these silicone molds, candy molds. I know, isn't it cool? And first of all, I tried using paper clay, but I couldn't get them flat enough. So these are actually made with hot glue. So the silicone is actually, it's strong enough that you can use the hot glue to make them. See how they fit down in there? So, and it's pretty self-leveling too. And if your flamingo is not totally level, you can actually put it on like a hot skillet or something and kind of flatten it out too. So that was a real quick, easy way to make my flamingos. And then they all would just pop right out. So fun little thing. There's what they look like on the other side. So that's how I made your flamingos. And then I painted them and painted their little beaks. So that is your flamingos. Now let's just real quick, while this is drying, I want to talk just a little bit. We'll go over to the tiki. And as you guys might remember that when I did the tiki bars, I had some of these guys to sell. And because I just thought, you know, a tiki bar needed a tiki, but I just didn't have enough rail power to make enough for everybody to have one in their kit, because the tiki kit, as you remember, was pretty big. So I made all of these. Now I want to show you how I did it. And Patricia, if you've got that slide for that product.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, she's fun. That's it. Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, this is called Easy Mold, and it is a 2-part compound, and it's just pretty easy. This is actually what I had left over from making. Well, it's not going to come out, but it's 2 colors. I know, I got the wrong end. So you just mix it together, and that activates it. It's like a, you know, I don't know what it has a chemical compound that when they are mixed together, then they will harden. So I created my first tikis out of paper clay. Oh, and also, I want to show you this too. I got this at the dollar store. I couldn't believe it. You know, they've got all these. This is not what I normally use, but it's a air drying clay. And if you have, and everybody's got a dollar store these days.
Yeah, got it upside down.
I do.
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, okay. Sorry. There it is. I have used this, and it's kind of crumbly. It's not as good as paper clay, but you know, if you're in a hard, you know, if you're somewhere and you only get to, but I haven't seen these everywhere. But anyway, the nice thing about it, it's small, and when you open it, you're only using a small amount. So anyway, if you're at your dollar store and you see these, you might want to grab some. So I first of all made my tiki. Here's one of the other tiki designs, as a matter of fact. So I made 3 tikis out of paper clay, and then I took the tiki. Let's see, find the right one. Here he is. And I made the clay, the 2-part clay, and I just mushed it all around him on the one. And I think you have to definitely, of course, wait till it dries. And I did seal the paper clay so that it was not so porous. But then you just kind of squeeze this compound after you've blended it together and leave it. And I don't know exactly how long it says, but it takes. It may take overnight. Yeah, just as far as the instruction goes, I'm not exact. It's been 3 years since I did this. But anyway, so that's how I created the molds. So I made some just so you guys could see how they. And these, of course, I've dried them. They've been drying in there. Well, when I made them all, when I made 40 of these little fellas, I took them out before they dried, and then I kind of shaped them and fussed with them a little bit. But this is using that clay that I just showed you that came from the dollar store. It's a little crumbly, but you know, tikis are supposed to be made out of wood anyway. So this is what the mold looks like. And it has these, I've broken it out like that so that I could get it out easily whenever they were wet when I was making them. So here's the 4 different designs. So you may, I don't know, you know, I made equal numbers of all of these, so you know, you're not all going to have what you're seeing me demonstrate. So anyway, if you have a need ever for making lots of something that you've sculpted, this is cool stuff. I've used it a couple times on other things, but this was a real good solution. So that is the tiki. That's how I made these tikis. So then once I made them, I popped them out, and then I had to do some shaping and sanding and painting, and then, well, sealing and then painting. These have got, just so you know, they've been sealed with Mod Podge. Again, I love Mod Podge as a sealer. And then they were all painted black, I think. And then I did a wash. There's like about 3 coats of different paints on here. So the real tricky thing was with these guys, and I was so scared to do this because here I had 40 of these guys that I'd painted, I'd sculpted, I'd taken all this time on, but I knew I had to do a hole in the top of the head, and I was so freaked out about it. So some of yours, and I was trying to get them very level. This is the skewer. These skewers are going to actually go into the tiki head, and they're going to be a tight fit, probably. So getting them to go straight up and down so that when the lampshade is on, I was really scared of that. So anyway, they may or may not be perfect. They're probably not perfect, but they may or may not be, some better than others. So keep that in mind, that it was actually the last thing I did was drill a hole in the top of all these guys. So let's go over to the tiki. So the tiki, the shade is made exactly the same as this. The same way, only you're going to use, of course, your leaf mold, your leaf design, not mold. So the next thing that you will do is, let's go back here to this guy. Because I know mine is probably dry now. Take these guys off. The black stick, the skewer is going to be for the flamingo. These are probably going to be too long. I made them longer. And to cut a bamboo, you can't really, it's hard to do it with scissors, so you're probably going to want to use something a little heavier than your scissors, because bamboo, as you know, is really, so you're going to have to look inside your, or poke this down inside your base and see about how tall it goes. Because, like, for instance, this guy is going to be way too tall. And the way you really want him to look is a little more, you know, a little closer, like a normal lamp would be. So you're going to have to judge based on your skewer that I sent you, how much you want to cut off on it, or how deep you want to set it in. And with this foam, of course, you can push it in a little farther. With the tiki, you can't. It's as far as it's going to go. So you'll have to really work at judging the distance of how long you want to make it. So, whoops, rolling away. So if you use the pointy end for the top, and just these are barely big enough for this skewer to go through. And I would secure it with some glue. This would be a place for hot glue if you want to, but you want to make sure that you get it really level so that, you know, it's not doing like this one, I think is kind of at an angle. You know, make sure you get it really level, and then put a little hot glue down. And then, and some of you may have beads like this, and some of you may have beads like this, I don't know. So, and again, a little bit of glue, and that kind of secures it into place. So that's how that works. And then, like, so this would be too tall, but that's basically how you do it. And it's the same thing with the tiki. The important thing is, and I haven't glued any of these in permanently because this one will come out too. But you see, that one's really short. I mean, I really did cut it down quite a bit. And I put a lot of glue inside this bead so that the bead would, you can see, I think I did use hot glue on this. I don't know if you can see the hot glue, but because some of these little holes that I made, they should just barely, this skewer should just barely fit through it, but it may not. So just don't, but if it's too big and it wants to slop around, use a little bit of hot glue. So let's see. Basically, that's kind of it. It's a pretty simple little craft, and you know, I always kind of do these things so that I know that we can fit it in an hour and a half time slot that we have for our workshops. So, and since these, you do the shade exactly the same way, glue it on, and if you want to do the little stitching, well, that's up to you. I wouldn't do it again because that was, and I did way too many stitches, but it looks kind of neat. So I think, I kind of think, does anybody have any questions? We'll kind of open it up, and you guys can send out any questions if you might have. I know I kind of got a mess here. I'm going to look over my notes and make sure I've told you everything I wanted to tell you too.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to post in the chat on YouTube. So we had a few questions as we were going along, and okay. I hope Brent Adams is enjoying his blender drink.
Oh, I couldn't finish this broadcast too without, as you know, we always have these big glue projects. This one is not so intensively glue, but you know, I learned from my children when they were in elementary school that a little dot does a lot when it comes from And so I couldn't let this go by without saying that, because I always say that whenever I do my workshops. But we didn't have to use that much glue on this project. So I know you guys are really disappointed, because I know how much you love to use glue. I'm just going to glance over my notes, make sure I've got everything I wanted to say. Paint color. Yep.
Linda says, thank you so much for all the prep work that you did.
Oh, you're welcome. And I know this seemed really simple tonight, but like I say, I was pretty much working toward the idea that it would take us an hour and a half. Usually takes a little longer in class anyway to get things done. I want to make sure you all know that this is being recorded as we're doing it, so you will be able to go back and view it again, and even share it if you want to. It's fine with me. I don't care. And I was talking with Patricia, my daughter-in-law, and it'll probably be late July or maybe August before we do the purse. She's got a real tight schedule, and the thing is, she has to completely take her workshop, her training room apart to put this. If you could see this, it's really pretty amazing. Apart to do this. So we're trying to set it up so that she doesn't have anything the next day that she has to have her set up on. So I really appreciate it, and I thank you so much for all the help, guys.
You're
Of
welcome.
course.
You're welcome.
I got the greatest kids in the world, but you guys know that because I post it all the time on Facebook. So anyway, were there any other questions, Jack?
Brent said he did iron his paper, and it sounds like it worked okay. Everyone says that they really enjoyed it, that this was awesome. Thank you for all the goodies. Barbara says she loves her lamp now. So
Awesome. What's a neat little lamp? And I took pictures with the doll. At first I thought, well, maybe it's a little big, but I put it right beside a doll lamp that when I was doing it, that I had, and it's just about the right size. But I think you might be able to use it for a bigger doll too if you didn't. But anyway, that's awesome. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we'll do it again in about a month. And of course, you can leave questions and comments on our little website too if you want. If you've got something, you think of something later. But thanks for coming. How many people do we have?
we had 21 people joined in live, and I'm sure there'll be a few more that'll come in afterwards. And so we had a few folks commented. Kathy says she's going to do it with a friend after they have a chance to get together. So
Good.
she's really grateful for the fun projects, and she loves her tiki bar and her wings. So.
Yeah, I wish I had a tiki bar. Wish I hadn't sold my tiki bar. My dolls wish I had sold my tiki bar. So anyway, well, I will close this out then, and I just want to tell you all how much I missed you all this summer, and I know that you guys we were all disappointed, and to not be able to carry through. Maybe at some point we can do a little farewell to Jim at another time, but I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this, and I hope that hope you enjoy it. And thanks for shopping and coming by. Bye, guys.